Welcome to another episode of the Not Scrum Dumb podcast, where we talk about all things Scrum and Agile. In today's episodes, we're going to be talking about 7 ways to measure if you are a successful Scrum Master. The first one that we're going to talk about is team performance. Now, a lot of the times we hear, Scott, that team velocity and throughput are how you actually measure team performance. But what's your take on that?
Oh, Adriana, I don't think velocity is a good measure for team performance because all velocity tells us is that we did some work as a Scrum team. It doesn't tell you that we did created any value for the customer. So I know velocity is a common metric, but that's all I would say on velocity. And I think throughput is definitely a good one. Throughput, that's, kind of like Kanban. We looking at how many items that we're getting in certain cycles of the business all the way to the end. Your comments on that?
I think one of the ways that we can kind of redirect and start looking at it from a team performance perspective is looking at if they're actually meeting their sprint goal. On a consistent basis, are they delivering a done increment? Are they delivering value at the end of the sprint? That's the way that I would look at it from a Scrum Master. Are they successful? Are you helping your team get to done? What are the hurdles? Are you removing the impediments? So when I think of team performance, I think about all these other little silent team killers that the Scrum Master should be there removing and redirecting customers that are being really annoying to going directly to the developers, distracting them, and actually redirecting them to the product owner, or like I said, removing impediments and any other hurdles to getting the team to done. All right, the next thing that we have is the actual sprint execution. So we talked about this is potentially like how effective are your actual scrum events and is your team actually focused? What else do you have for that one, Scott?
Yes, I'm thinking about sprint planning, Adriana, where we have the three questions that we must answer during that. Why is this sprint valuable? And from that, we're going to identify a sprint goal that the whole teams collaborate on and agree upon. Then the developers are going to go to the product backlog and create their sprint backlog as a forecast of these are the things that we think we can achieve that. And then finally, they're going to talk about how they're going to get that done. And they have kind of a workable plan, available for the next couple of days or so. And daily scrum, just looking to make sure that we accomplishing the goals of that. Then at the sprint review, I think making sure that hey, that we actually have something to actually show our customers because back at sprint planning, we really just have a hypothesis. We believe this is what the customer wants, and if we thinking about empiricism, by the time we get to the sprint review, that's where we actually want to show the customer, hey, is this what you're talking about? And then get that feedback and see if we need to keep going straight. We need to pivot and go right, pivot and go left, or maybe even go back to the drawing board based upon that feedback that we're getting from the stakeholders. And then finally, we have the sprint retrospective. Are we really finding that continuous improvement item that we're improving each and every sprint? And if we're doing sprint retrospective right, our processes should be getting better. Our products should be getting more robust. Our lives as a team should be even easier. So that's the categories that I'm looking at in terms of sprint as execution. Just looking at the Scrum guide and looking at the team, with my visual eyes and seeing, how close we are to that. And if not, tweak it wherever it needs to be tweaked.
I think in order for all of that to happen, we do need good team collaboration, which is our third thing that we believe will help measure your success as a Scrum Master. So when I think of team collaboration, it's just not, hey, well, we're working together, but also that we have the courage to say where we need to improve. So it's not as simple as like, hey, I told Johnny X, Y, and Z, but also we're looking deeper into like where are the areas that we can get better. And we're having these open conversations and we're not taking them personally because we're all just trying to be excellent. That takes time. That's not something that happens overnight. So I think team collaboration has just kind of been that thing where it's like, oh, you guys communicate well, but it goes a little bit deeper in your willingness to not be easily offended, your willingness to collectively understand that we're trying to achieve a goal, no one's being personally attacked. And then to also celebrate the wins, to say you did a great job, point out the areas where people are doing really great as well. Anything to add to this one, Scott?
Yeah, when you identify team collaboration, as you said, it's going to take a while. And when you said that, I thought of Bruce Tuckman's work, team formation. Teams go through the forming stage, the storming stage, the norming stage, performing stage. And then at some point in time, we're going to adjourn It's good to know that framework for each and everybody because it lets you know as a scrum master what hat to put on: your teaching hat, your coaching hat, your facilitator hat, your mentor hat. And that's a great framework to help you with that team collaboration and navigate through those waters. Now, the other thing I will add is team collaboration. There's a lot of collaboration going on within a Scrum team. So one of the things I'm looking at is if we get to the sprint review, is the product owner surprised at what he or she sees? Which lets us know that, hey, maybe the product owner is not available enough during the sprint. So I'm looking at that. We're going to talk about that at the retrospective. Are the developers asking questions, having to embody the value of courage to say, hey, product owner, I don't really understand this requirement, or we need some guidance here. And the Scrum Masters is in between those. It's just everybody's collaborating with everybody about different things, and we're just trying to make the best out of the situation. So, and that takes time to learn how to do that effectively.
Yeah, and I think your call out with the product owner, are they surprised at the sprint review? I think that kind of leads us into the fourth thing, which is stakeholder satisfaction, which we even consider our product owner a stakeholder in this situation because they are the key person that's directing us and working with the Scrum team to actually build value. We want this is all for delivering value to users or customers. At the end of the day, if no one's using your product or no one is purchasing your product, you no longer have a business. So there is no Scrum team. And at the end of the day, we want, stakeholder satisfaction. Anything else to add to that?
No, I like that. The only other thing I would add to that, Andreon, is that supports the Agile Manifesto principle number one. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer.
Some other things to add to stakeholder collaboration would be transparency. They do want to understand what we're doing, where we're going, to be able to see the work. There's already stuff built in Scrum, like the sprint review and so forth. Making sure that you have the proper artifacts, your product backlog, your sprint backlog, your increment, those are transparent, and the product owner is regularly keeping the stakeholders up to date as to what's going on, where we're going, and when things change, the product owner is honest and transparent about those things, which I think is a challenging part, but that leads us into our fifth thing, continuous improvement. We are not going to start out, 5 miles in. We're starting out at the very beginning. You mentioned forming, storming, norming. At the end of the day, those are tough phases to go through. They're easy to say, but they're really challenging in the process because you're going to go through ups and downs. You may even go through times where you're not delivering anything. And as a Scrum Master, that really sucks. But how you handle that is the most important thing. And building that mindset that failure is a learning opportunity and continuously getting better is really going to take you to the next level as a Scrum Master. In order to help your team continuously improve, you have to coach and mentor them. You want to take this one away, Scott?
Yeah, coaching and mentorship. That's a very special skill. That was one of the when I did a self-evaluation years ago when I got into the space, coaching and facilitating were my weakest skills, and I had to learn how to do that. I thought coaching was just asking questions, but it is not. To really do the technique correctly, you have to first ask somebody for an invitation. Hey, may I give you some advice? And if they say yes, then you go into your coaching stance. But if they say no, then what are you going to do then? I don't know. I had to learn that. But yeah, coaching is very important. What are we coaching on? We coaching on, their Scrum adoption. We coaching them on the Agile adoption. We coaching them on, collaborating with each other. Some of the previous bullet points that we talked about. We coaching them on a lot of things in terms of what we see and just trying to allow them to self-organizing through using a coaching stance.
All right. And the last one I hinted at the very beginning, which is as a Scrum Master, you need to be removing impediments. You cannot be a successful Scrum Master if your team has impediments that you're not able to remove on a consistent basis. And that doesn't mean you personally, maybe you need management. I've given examples in previous videos where I talk about I actually needed management sometimes, or another stakeholder to actually help our team out. Anything else you want to add to that, Scott?
Definitely removal of impediments. I mean, just as a reminder for everybody, the Scrum Guide says, we service 3 levels. So we service in the Scrum team. We're going to have impediments there at the local team. We serve in the product owner. The product owner is going to have some impediments. What impediments? It may be backlog refinement. It may be something in terms of their job set or their skill set that they may have or may need. We may need to go to then the organization to try to help, navigate those waters. And also impediments could be just the organization's, their adoption of Scrum. We're doing some coaching on that level, which we talk about the coaching already, but other impediments could be on an organizational level.
Ultimately, The key here is to remember that our success is not necessarily on an individual level. We should be evaluated holistically on some of the metrics for our team or our product, where really it should be focused on the outcomes and the overall health of the Scrum team instead of one little aspect. I know sometimes we get a little caught up with velocity or throughput and so forth, but really like what's the outcome? How are we making them better? How are we continuously improving over time? How are we executing? Are we meeting our sprint goals, our product goal over time? Are our customers and users satisfied? Those things are really important, and those are the things we should be measured on and focused on in terms of our success. If you're new to being a Scrum Master, you can check out a previous video where we talk about how you can get hired as a Scrum Master. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, then you have an attention span greater than a goldfish.
Be legendary, all.